some breaking news now from India. A passenger jet has crashed in the western city of Ahmedabad. Now, these are the latest images from social media we're getting. Dozens of people reportedly on board an Air India flight.
This is clearly a big issue for the airline itself, but at the moment the main concern is, of course, those passengers who are on board.
On a clear, tranquil evening in Ahmedabad, the city was winding down as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the airport. The air was calm, and the conditions seemed perfect for flying. Air India Flight 171, a scheduled service to London, was preparing for departure. Passengers settled into their seats, some chatting excitedly about their journey ahead, while others gazed out the windows at the fading light. The Boeing 787 Dreamliner, a state-of-the-art aircraft carrying 242 people including crew and passengers, began its takeoff roll. Engines roared to life as the jet accelerated down the runway, its sleek frame glinting in the evening sun. For everyone on board, it was expected to be just another routine flight. But fate had other plans. Just moments after lifting off, disaster struck with terrifying speed. The plane was airborne for only 32 seconds before its climb faltered dramatically. Instead of rising steadily, the aircraft began to lose altitude, its nose dipping dangerously. Eyewitnesses on the ground watched in horror as the jet struggled to gain height. Some reported seeing smoke trailing from the engines, while others described the unusual strained sound coming from the aircraft as it fought to stay aloft. In the cockpit, the pilots were thrust into a life-or-death struggle. Alarms blared and warning lights flashed as they worked frantically to regain control, but the Dreamliner began a rapid, uncontrolled descent, leaving them with only seconds to react. The aircraft crashed just beyond the airport perimeter, erupting in a massive fireball that lit up the night sky. The impact was so violent that it could be felt by those nearby. Wreckage and debris were scattered across a wide area, marking the violent and abrupt end of Flight 171. The scene was one of utter devastation, with twisted metal and burning fragments strewn across the field. News of the crash spread rapidly, sending shockwaves through the aviation world and leaving families and friends desperate for information. The tragedy dominated headlines and social media feeds within minutes. A modern jet, operated by a major airline with a strong safety record, had gone down seconds after takeoff. The unthinkable had happened, raising urgent questions about what could have caused such a catastrophic failure. Emergency crews rushed to the scene, battling flames and searching for survivors. But the devastation was total. The scale of the disaster quickly became apparent to all involved. As dawn broke, investigators began the painstaking search for answers in the smoldering remains of a journey that ended almost as soon as it began. The world waited anxiously to learn what had brought down Flight 171. The Boeing 787 Dreamliner was a symbol of modern aviation, efficient, comfortable, and safe. Air India's crew of 12 was experienced, ready for the 9-hour flight to London. On board were 230 passengers, families, business travelers, students, and tourists from India, the UK, Portugal, and Canada. The cabin was a cross-section of society, each person with their own story and destination. Passengers settled in, stowing luggage and fastening seatbelts, unaware of the tragedy ahead. The crew completed their checks, prepared for a routine journey. None could have imagined that these ordinary moments would be their last. The loss was not just a number, it was hundreds of lives, dreams, and futures all cut short in an instant. The catastrophe would leave families and communities across continents in mourning. The crash unfolded in full view of those near Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport. Eyewitnesses described the plane's engines making a strained, sputtering noise as it took off. Videos quickly surfaced online, showing the Dreamliner at a dangerously low altitude, its landing gear still down. Experts noted this detail, suggesting the pilots were battling a critical emergency from the start. A local farmer saw the plane climb, then dip, before plunging toward the ground. Witnesses described a terrifying, helpless moment as the aircraft disappeared behind trees. Seconds later, a fireball lit up the night sky, followed by a deafening explosion. Emergency sirens wailed as first responders raced to the scene. The visual and audio evidence provided crucial early clues for investigators. The disaster's speed and violence left a lasting impression on all who saw it. Behind the numbers are stories of lives interrupted and families shattered. Each statistic represents a person whose journey was cut short and a family left to pick up the pieces. The pain of loss is not just a headline, it is a daily reality for those left behind, echoing in empty rooms and unfinished conversations. Among the victims was the Joshi family, who were embarking on a new chapter of their lives, moving to London for a fresh start. Their excitement and hope for the future were captured in a final smiling selfie at the airport, a moment of joy that would soon become a cherished memory for those who loved them. The loss of the Joshi family became a symbol of the tragedy's human cost, resonating deeply with communities both in India and abroad. Their story, like so many others, reminds us of the dreams and aspirations that vanished in an instant. The passenger list was a tapestry of lives, students eager to study abroad, business people pursuing opportunities, and families reuniting or starting anew. Each person boarded the plane with hopes and plans, unaware that their journeys would end so suddenly and tragically. The international makeup of the flight meant that grief rippled across continents, touching hearts in India, the UK, Portugal, Canada, and beyond. Vigils and memorials sprang up in cities around the world as communities came together to mourn and remember. For families waiting at airports, the hours stretched endlessly. Every phone call, every news update brought a mix of hope and dread. As the casualty list grew, hope faded, replaced by the heavy weight of loss and unanswered questions. Amid the devastation, a single story of survival emerged, a glimmer of hope in the darkness, reminding us of the resilience of the human spirit even in the face of overwhelming tragedy. Vishwas Kumar Ramesh, a British national, was the sole survivor, miraculously pulled from the wreckage by rescue workers. His survival was nothing short of extraordinary, offering a rare moment of relief amid the sorrow. Vishwas had been traveling with his brother, who was among the missing. The joy of survival was tempered by the heartbreak of loss, as he grappled with the reality that his sibling would not be coming home. Ramesh's survival is often described as a miracle, but for him, it comes with profound sorrow and the heavy burden of survivor's guilt. Each day is a reminder of those who were lost, and the randomness that determined his fate. His story stands as a powerful reminder of both the unpredictability of fate and the immeasurable depth of loss experienced by so many. In the aftermath, the world is left to honor the memories of those lost, and to support the survivors as they navigate a changed life. Vishwas Kumar Ramesh's escape from the wreckage is almost beyond belief. In the chaos that followed the crash, he became the sole thread connecting the world to the tragedy that had just unfolded. The odds were stacked against him from the very first moment, yet somehow he found the strength to survive. Seated near the front, he recalled the crash as a blur, then waking amid twisted metal and smoke. The deafening roar of the engines, the violent shudder of the fuselage, and then, suddenly, silence. Disoriented and in pain, he struggled to make sense of the devastation around him, the acrid smell of burning fuel filling his lungs. Injured but alive, he unbuckled himself and pushed through debris, driven by instinct to escape the fire. Every movement sent waves of pain through his body, but adrenaline and the will to live kept him going. Flames licked at the edges of the wreckage, and the cries of the injured faded into the background as he focused on survival. He staggered from the crash site, where first responders found him and rushed him to hospital. The world outside was a blur of flashing lights and urgent voices, but for Ramesh, every step away from the wreckage was a step toward life. His physical injuries are serious but survivable. The emotional scars will last far longer. In the sterile quiet of the hospital, he began to process the enormity of what he had endured, haunted by memories of the crash and the faces of those who did not make it. Ramesh's miraculous survival stunned doctors and investigators alike. They marveled at his resilience, calling his escape a rare phenomenon in aviation disasters. The investigation into the crash would take months, but his story became a beacon of hope amid the tragedy. From his hospital bed, he pleaded for news of his missing brother, clinging to hope. The uncertainty gnawed at him, and every visitor brought a mix of dread and anticipation. Family and friends gathered, offering comfort, but nothing could fill the void left by the unknown. His story is one of luck, tragedy, and unimaginable trauma. Each day in recovery brought new challenges. both physical and emotional, as he grappled with survivor's guilt and the weight of being the only one left to tell the tale. He is the lone survivor, forever marked by the loss of 240 others. The empty seats and scattered belongings at the crash site serve as a constant reminder of the lives lost and the randomness of fate. The world looks to him for answers, but he carries only memories of chaos and loss. Reporters and officials seek explanations, but Ramesh can only recount fragments, moments of terror, confusion, and the desperate urge to survive. His survival is a testament to human resilience and the cruel randomness of disaster. He stands as living proof that even in the darkest moments, the human spirit can endure, though not without cost. For Ramesh, recovery will be a long journey, shadowed by grief. Each step forward is a reminder of the past, and the road to healing is uncertain and steep. He stands as both a symbol of hope and a witness to tragedy. In the aftermath, his courage and perseverance inspire others, even as he continues to search for meaning in the midst of overwhelming loss. Investigators launched a massive inquiry to uncover the cause of the crash. India's AAIB, with help from the US NTSB and Boeing, began piecing together the final moments of Flight 171. The black boxes, flight data and cockpit voice recorders, were quickly recovered and sent for analysis. Early evidence pointed to a catastrophic engine failure, possibly robbing the plane of thrust seconds after takeoff. The landing gear's position suggested the pilots were attempting an emergency return. Investigators are examining every angle: mechanical failure, maintenance, human error, and external factors. The process is painstaking, with experts reconstructing the aircraft's history and the crew's actions. Families and the aviation world await answers that only a thorough investigation can provide. The goal to learn what went wrong and prevent it from happening again. The search for truth is just beginning. The crash put Boeing under renewed scrutiny. The 787 had a strong safety record, but Boeing's reputation was already battered by recent crises and whistleblower allegations. High-profile incidents and financial troubles had shaken confidence in the company's safety culture. Following the crash, Boeing's stock fell sharply, and CEO Kelly Ortberg faced mounting pressure. While no evidence yet links the crash to a manufacturing fault, the investigation's outcome could have major consequences. The world is watching how Boeing responds, and what the probe reveals about the Dreamliner. Official responses were swift and somber. Air India set up emergency centers and pledged support for families. Boeing expressed condolences and promised full cooperation with investigators. Leaders in India and the UK offered support and called for a thorough investigation. These statements aim to reassure the public, but for grieving families, only answers will matter. The focus now is on uncovering the truth and supporting those left behind. The crash of Flight 171 leaves a deep scar on families and the aviation world. For loved ones, the loss is immeasurable and permanent. The tragedy is a stark reminder that even the safest aircraft are not immune to disaster. Airlines and regulators will scrutinize every detail, seeking lessons to prevent future tragedies. For Air India and Boeing, the path forward demands transparency and change. Every air disaster brings new safety improvements. Flight 171's legacy must be safer skies. The hope is that the lessons learned will honor those lost and protect future travelers. Their story becomes part of aviation's ongoing quest for safety.